Hey everybody, I'm a couple minutes late, so sorry about that. Once again, my face got bigger. Oh well, just gonna have to deal with my large face. Um, how are you? It is Wednesday, and I'm so happy to be with you and happy to talk to you about this particular subject because, as strange as it sounds, um, oh, did I pick my microphone? Maybe I didn't. Hang on, let me check something. Hang on. Stream. I'm such a mess. Let's see. Default. Oh, okay. I should be fine. Um, if you guys would let me know that you can hear me, I'm, adding my microphone to things. And so, as always, of course, if you would be so kind, let me know that you are here. Um, yes, as I started to say, the topic of failure is near and dear to my heart. As strange as that sounds, only because I've been through a lot of it, and so I know of what I speak. Um, so let me see if anyone's saying hello. Hello, Emily. Oh, good, you can hear me. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for letting me know. It's always a little disconcerting. Um, so here we are. Why talk about failure? I mean, when we approach our careers, we're always talking about and our lives, frankly, we're always talking about success and how to be successful. Nobody talks about like how to be a failure, of course, right? Um, and so very often we just get caught up in this sense of like, if I just get on the path, if I get on the right path towards success, I will never have any setbacks. And I know that on a certain level, we don't really believe that. Like, not really. Making an adjustment here. We don't really believe that. But somewhere in us, like we can sort of intellectualize the idea of like, well, of course there will be setbacks, and things aren't going to be perfect, and that they're not going to be perfectly smooth. But when it happens on a feeling level, it kind of it guts us and it destroys us and makes us feel like whatever failure we're facing at the moment means that we ourselves are failures. Like if I experience a failure in something, that means I am a failure. And I think that is the myth that I would like to continue to dispel. Again, I know this isn't really new to everyone. Again, we're surrounded by people who share this kind of information with us. If we're seeking it out, right? If we're seeking perspective, right? So I know it isn't new, but I guess what I want to say in this live is really has to do with a particular mindset of rather than sort of bracing yourself for failure, out of a sense of fear that it's going to happen, right? That we in turn kind of accept that it's on its way, and that actually those things that make us feel like we failed aren't they're actually not they're not failings. They're lessons on the path. It's the roadblock and the stumbling and the tripping that really serves as teacher to us. You don't learn anything by being successful. Don't learn anything meaningful anyway. Um, you learn by falling down and getting back up. And all we have to do is take a look at a child learning to walk. It is a series of missteps, literally, right? And yet, children, for the most part, have this great sense of like they take a step and fall, and then they kind of laugh at themselves and they get up and they try it again. And then maybe they'll take one step a dozen times before they can get to a second step. But there's something so adventurous about it, right? There's something so like, oh, this is something new I've never done before. I'm so used to being on my hands and knees. knees, and having to hold myself up. And wow, I just took a step. And what does that mean, right? And and this is my hope, not just for you, but for myself as well, right? That we will experience all these missteps that we make, and we make them. We experience these missteps as um, opportunities, right? We fall on our bum and we get back up and we go, oh, well, I guess if I put my weight over there too much, I'm going to fall over. So this time I'm going to try and I'm going to put my weight a little bit over here to get myself ready to take that next step, right? And approach it again, approach these things, these lessons that we learn um, from from a curious point of view, right? And an I want to say opportunistic, but you know what I mean. Like there's opportunity in the misstep, right? Um, so let me see. Hi, Larry. Crikey. Hi, Miguel. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much, and thanks for making yourself known. Um, so, as you can imagine, I coach a lot of voice actors, uh, and they usually come to me at a low point when they do feel like they have failed and they haven't gotten it right, and or they're in the middle. They've just made a decision about something and laid down a lot of cash, only to discover like, oh wow, that would have been a whole lot better if I didn't spend my money that way, right? And that can be like um, a devastating piece of failure, because we very often we think of ourselves as having finite resources. Um, oh yeah, I have to. Josie is sending me a thing. Yeah, I am on the live now. um, Here we go. So sorry. Um, so we often think of ourselves as having these finite resources, and oh, I've wasted all that money and no money is ever coming back to me, and I messed it up, and that's the nail in the coffin, right? I gave my money to a demo producer that I don't like working with, right? Or I spent all this money on a website and it doesn't really accurately represent me, right? I took a bunch of coaching only to realize that I I didn't learn any useful tools, right? And I bought a microphone that doesn't serve me, right? All of these things, like I encounter this with people all the time, right? So, and I also, you know, like we do with our friends and our family members who come to us for insight and share with us the sorrows of their hearts, um, I certainly encounter people who feel like they've come so far in their life and their career and they have nothing to show for it. And they feel like, what was all that about, and how did I end up here um, with nothing, you know? Um, and so whether it is a career setback, whether it's a personal setback, I really am here to tell you that there's life on the other side of a seeming failure and a seeming setback. There really is. And I can give you my own stories. I mean, I've mentioned in other Facebook Lives about having, you know, uh, been let go at an agency, of leaving an agency prematurely, that felt like a huge mistake, just a big mistake. And I thought my career was over, losing really meaningful and important um, jobs that I thought were going to go on much longer, going, uh, months without work. Again, like losing campaigns, like things that really have a bearing on day to day life, And in the midst of that, let me tell you also personally, I have experienced the loss of divorce. Um, I have I have experienced I experienced a financial crisis in the mid 2000s. I lost my house to foreclosure. Um, I went through bankruptcy. I mean, and I say these things, a good how many years out, 10, 12 years out. And in the midst of it, it felt like it would never end. It would never end, right? But in all of those things, um, I I think what I managed to hold on to, and this is what I hope to convey to you, what I managed to hold on to um, was my belief that my life had value aside from all of these losses. Um, and, my belief that I was loved and that I had the capacity to love, even more importantly, I think, right? That was such a big turning point for me at a particular time in my career where I felt like I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing creatively. What's my purpose? All I have to show for my life is a series of failures. What's my purpose, right? And as I really dove into answering that question, a huge piece of my answer was that my purpose in life was to love, right? And you wouldn't really think that that's the answer when you're asking about what what you're when you think that you're supposed to, have had a recording contract and, and a film career and, and all of these things to sort of get the message that it's like, yeah, those things aren't really very important. Let me tell you what's more important, and that is your capacity to love people, right? And so, so I want to, so the thing I really want to convey to you is how important it is to um, to both recognize that there are lessons, like big, juicy, meaningful lessons in what you may perceive as failure in your life, right? And that you are more than your voiceover career, and and that there is more for you to do, right? And I say all these things, struggles in my voiceover career along the path, right? But I'm still a voice actor and I'm still pursuing it and I'm still doing it. And I'm still engaging it as best I can. And I'm learning from every, uh, every roadblock that comes up, right? And yet, in the midst of that, I have realized my larger purpose, right? And so that is the same for you. We walk this path as voice actors, and we train and we put together our studios and we do our work, and we stumble and we fall and we get back up, and we also, uh, you know, we also have this other fuller, larger life that calls to us and is deserving of our attention. And all of the parts of our lives have a bearing on what kind of voice actors we are, and what we're able to do and how we're able to handle our disappointments and uh, right. Does that? I hope that all makes sense. Let me just check in and see who else perchance is here. Um, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. What that is a lyric from a song. Come on, Emily, tell me what it is. I've heard it. Um, Larry or another never have been. Yeah, it's interesting, right? These things that we perceive as failures. And I want to tell you, these lessons they continue. I don't like anything. I don't like anything in a voiceover career, any career. Like, I am not a person who believes that you ever really arrive. We don't arrive. We're constant. We're just on the path, right? We are on the path and we are learning every step of the way. So let me tell you, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I, I'm the voice of La Sirena on Star Trek Picard. Um, Here we are at the end of season 2. I don't think the ship is coming back to season 3 because, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alert. And if you don't care to, believe me, I understand. It's not the best Star Trek series. Anyway, La Serena, the ship, is like, uh, what's a good word for it? Like apprehended by the Borg. I don't think La Serena is coming back, and that's fine, right? Like that's fine. 2 out of 3 seasons, so happy. But as you might recall, I didn't get my credit, for several of the episodes, which really just like, oh, it was like a knife in my soul, right? Because this job is so important to me, and so I've been about the business, doing some sleuthing to try to figure out how that happened and like where did the communication fall down, and was it because of COVID, because I was recording from home and the contracts came to me, and it was kind of a mess and all that. So through talking to my agent and gathering up all the contracts, uh, what I realized was, and let me tell you, I was all ready to like lay. I'm not a blame layer, but you know what I'm saying. It's like where did it fall down, right? And I was all ready for it to be with the production company, right? And so I get my contracts and I look at them, and I didn't I didn't fill out the portion that said, how would you like to be credited? Like I didn't do it. It was me. I did it. Right? And so like that's like a talk about a lesson, right? After all these years, how many contracts have I signed? How many things have I filled out, right? How much do I already know that you have to look at every page and you have to look at every blank space and see if you're supposed to put something there, right? Like, um, and so now I'm in this adjustment period of like, okay, so do I am I just I'm just living with my lack of credit? I think probably, right? Like, okay, I still have credit on, I'm still present in this, all that. But I'm just saying, like, you never stop falling down, is the point. You never stop falling down because we're human and things happen and life gets in the way and you're not paying attention to details or what have you, right? And then life gets in the way in bigger ways too, you know. Um, Tragedy, you know, befalls us all at some point. Like no one gets out unscathed. That is the truth. And so I think the more we can sort of prep ourselves, not out of a sense of fear, but out of a sense of like, okay, I know this roller coaster of life. And so I know things are bound to happen. So what do I who am I and how do I face adverse circumstances, right? And if I know that I don't face adverse circumstances very well, okay, what do I need to learn? How do I need to engage myself in order that I might face the things that I know are coming better, right? Uh, Let me check back in. Nature Boy, Nat King Cole, really? That's so interesting. I heard it on Moulin Rouge. The baby walking analogy, yes, Jeff. Yes. The equivalent of big puffy diapers to cushion our falls, we have that. And those are our friends and our sympathetic colleagues, and oftentimes our family. Not always our family. Family relationships are complicated, um, but that's what friends are for, to quote another song. And also, let me just say, that's why this group exists. Honestly, it's why I created it, right? To be not only so that I could be of service to my voiceover colleagues, but that we could all be of service to each other and share uh, uh, our wins and share our struggles, right? And our, the things, our obstacles, the things that slow us down, right? Um, so I want to say, before I go, I'm going to put something in the comments section here. Hopefully it'll paste. Yeah, it did. Okay. So I just posted for you. It doesn't really come up. It just comes up as a, oh, what? ripple mixer. What is that? I don't know what that. I hope I hope I didn't just send you some like diseased link. Um, that's so funny. What happened? Oh, okay, there it is. Anyway, there's a link there for my. I have a blog. It's called Sometimes Life, and the subtitle is "Doesn't Turn Out Like You Plan." And I haven't put anything on that blog in a very long time, but um, there are a couple of sort of uh, posts that I think are they're evergreen to me, right? Like the truth of them, the lesson of them rings years later. So I posted a blog post about my experience with my financial collapse in the mid 2000s, and I posted there for you to read. And I hope that you will read it, even though it's not specifically about voiceover, but um, it's about what comes from knowing who you are and what you can weather when you have good people around you, when your values are intact, and you know and understand your worth, right, and the value of your life, regardless of all of the sort of superficial things that we attach ourselves to. Um, so I hope that you will read it. I am going to check the link because I don't know what it says. Something, I don't know. There's something weird about it, but I'm going to check the link and make sure that it's okay. But it is the the website is sometimeslife.com, and I'll clarify that in the comments section. But unless there are any other comments, um, Mark, 20 years in this wonderful career, and I'm right in the middle of a drought of paychecks. It's somewhat excruciating, not only as a voice actor, but as a husband, son, family member, and friend. Yeah. Um, yeah. Mark, more sympathetic I could not be. Had to bail on a couple of East Coast family engagements because I couldn't afford flights, hotel. Yeah. You will. You will ride out the storm of nothing. I can promise you that. Yeah, again, I'm confident. I'm confident of it. And there are, even in the midst of those things, I think it's always in hindsight that we can look back and kind of go, oh, whew, I survived that. When you're in it, it is scary. It's scary and it's gloomy, right? And it takes real emotional perseverance to continue through difficult days. And so to surround yourself again with people who love you and know your worth and know your capacity, um, and hang tight because they love you, right? You'll weather, and uh, I want to say, well, it's sort of in the blog post that I posted, but a tiny little piece of the story of my financial collapse. I remember we had this property. It was ridiculous. Like, it was ridiculous how we ended up with this property in the northern Washington. Like, it should not have happened. It was in the midst of the housing. Everybody was giving everybody money for houses that they couldn't afford. I mean, it was a terrible time in the mid 2000s. Anyway, so we had to sell this place. We never got to use it. I mean, it was crazy, uh, but it was on the market, and we had to keep dropping the price and dropping the price and dropping the price and dropping the price until it was sort of like, well, we're going to actually have to bring money to the table in order to close this property, money that we didn't have, right? So, but I do remember that at a certain point, it had been on the market for so long and we couldn't sell it and couldn't sell it. And one day my realtor called and said, we have a buyer. And when I received that phone call and those words entered my brain, my knees buckled. Like I realized I had been carrying so much stress in my body, right? Just like trying to literally day in and day out hold myself up, having to make mortgage payments that we couldn't make, and like it was so unbelievably stressful. But you know, I was mindful of how every day I just kept taking a step forward, and again, just that I've got a buyer, and I just almost fell over, and so it's remarkable how really strong we are, right? Taking one step at a time. We can survive the difficult times. So, in closing, I just want to say, um, I failure will come, and you can count on it. Um, but you are not your failures. Um, we are each a unique um, mix of both our successes and our failures all wound up together, and how we respond to each of those things is really the indication of who we are, right? And um, what we have in us, right? So I just want to say, like, this group is here to share not just your successes, but the times that you are struggling and having a difficult time. And um, and I'm confident that the kind of person that is attracted to this kind of group, like I know that the people in the group will be supportive and kind and encouraging. So thank you so much for being with me on this, and I hope you will go and read that blog post. I'm going to make sure it's the right link. And of course, if there's anything I can do, send me a message, post a comment. I'm here. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of the week. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks so much. Ciao.